There's floods in Houston, Joel Osteen's getting criticized, and social media is all over the place. So what should the Christian be doing and saying? Well, welcome to Faith and Whatever, the podcast. We are doing a This Week in the Kingdom, and we thought it'd be interesting to tackle some of the social media / Joel Osteen / just all the discussion happening when big events like what's going on in Houston happen. I say events like it's a good thing, like calamities. When calamities happen.
Yeah, disasters.
You know, so I'm going to give this over to you here in a second here, Garrett. But essentially, right, over the past week and a half, there's been a bunch of terrible weather. A hurricane happened in Houston and various areas around Texas, around Houston, and it kind of just suddenly put Joel Osteen under the radar, or under the microscope in a sense. But go ahead. What's been happening in Houston, first of all?
So there was a storm that was coming. It wasn't a hurricane for the most part. It was like Category 3 tropical storm. I think something like it turned into Category 4 right before it made landfall. But what happened was
living up to its full potential.
Yeah, it was pretty bad. So the storm hit, and it just kind of it was slow moving, and stayed, and they got just records amounts of rain, and the storm surge wasn't so bad. The wind was pretty damaging, but it's probably the worst storm in recorded history in that part of the world. And so Houston is the 4th most populated city in our country, and so when a huge chunk of it gets flooded, you're talking millions of people, Yeah,
and there's something about becoming an urban center that you just cease having the sort of infrastructure you need for calamities.
Yeah, I mean, how do you prepare for something that probably won't happen but will cost billions of dollars to prepare for? Right. So, I mean, now it's costing billions of dollars in repairs. So large chunks of the city was flooded, roads shut down, I-states shut down, interstates, airports, hundreds of thousands of homes were flooded. So I don't know exactly how many people were displaced from their home, but I would imagine if it was close to 1 million people.
And kind of the sad dichotomy here is that I personally know from speaking to a lot of pastors that there is a huge amount of both like volunteer labor and volunteer funds going out from churches to Houston to deal with that calamity and to help people rebuild and to reset and to save people in some circumstances. But despite all of that positivity, amidst a bad time, we have this Joel Osteen drama, which it's questionable how much it's deserved.
Right. So he is a pastor of a church that is a former basketball stadium, is that what you call it?
Arena, maybe?
Arena. No way.
And it's downtown, an area that was flooded, but not one of the worst. And if you watch social media, it was like, somehow it was like, on Reddit, it was like updates of the storm and like live feed. And then like 2 days later, it was like bash on Joel Osteen, because the perception of what happened is he refused to open his church up as a place that people could go to ride out.
I mean, the first question I had is, should you be opening up a building that's right amidst the thick of it during that time, right? Wouldn't you want to have facilities that are a little bit like distant?
Yeah, like not in Houston, maybe?
From all the bad.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to say what should have happened or what you're supposed to do in the middle of a storm. What if all of your employees can't come because their house is flooded? Who's going to open the door, turn on the electricity?
And generally, like, city officials will tell people to get out of the city for major calamities. They won't tell them to stick around, even in shelter-like areas.
So we'll go over what happened, but I will tell you that the perception is that a super mega rich pastor refused to open the doors of his church to people in need. And social media said, look at these Christians, look how hypocritical they are.
He did hold back the power of the waters with his smile alone.
He's such a nice guy because he's so easy to rip on.
It became one of those things where, I mean, we've made jokes about him before.
Oh yeah, we have a whole podcast, and I think we have like devil horns on him.
Yeah, I mean, when he sleeps on a bed of billions of dollars, he can take a few little sharp attacks. Yeah. And I don't feel bad, really.
He's wiping away his tears with his $100
Yeah, so Chris,
bills.
what did you see on social media, like the progression?
It's just that thing. He was such an easy target. And for Christians and non-Christians, people wanted to be critical of Christianity. And it was. I'm mad at the internet for putting me in a position of defending Joel Osteen.
Right. Isn't that the worst? When there's somebody you really don't like, but you know for a fact that the criticisms are unfounded?
Yeah, that in this one particular case.
Right. Right.
It's like I'm pretty left-leaning, but when my hardcore Democrat friends, friends make attacks on Trump that are just cosmically outrageous, I'm like, don't make me defend Trump,
right.
you know? Don't make me defend the guy I didn't vote for to begin with.
Yeah. So I saw a Reddit thread that was a picture of his mansion, which granted is kind of ridiculous.
Yeah.
And it was some joke made about his mansion, and then down the Reddit thread, someone from Australia said, "Hey, I just woke up, and who's Joel Osteen? What's this all about?" And someone said, "Oh, he's this televangelist who steals money from people and asks for donations, and built this mansion with all this money, and then refused to open up his house." I mean,
the bricks of his house are literally built with the stacks of money he has collected.
So then down on the so I would Reddit is
stealing from your grandma.
They can be pretty intense and wrong most of the time, but there's always usually a voice of reason. So I went down to see where the posts were about the fact that Joel Osteen, one, doesn't take money from the church, and two, his wealth as a pastor is not really accurate. It's his wealth as an author and a personality.
Running such a big church has put him in a position of fame, and he's leveraged that fame to sell books and other types of media, and that's where his money has come from. He can make the legitimate claim that he hasn't taken a dollar from his church directly in a number of years.
Yeah, we looked it up. It said 2005 was the last year he took a salary from the church.
Yeah, so that's 12 years.
Yeah.
If my math's
and of course, these posts that were stating the truth were downvoted into oblivion, and no one really cared. So here's my question today, and here's one of the things that I've really been thinking about as a Christian, and not so much in response to Joel Osteen, but just how easy the internet makes it for us to judge others, those who aren't even on the internet, like Joel Osteen. Maybe he had an official response, but for the most part, he's not there.
He's not hanging out on the message boards.
Yeah, so I guess that could easily totally be classified as like the sin of gossip for sure.
Right.
But then even me and Chris's response of wanting to call these people like total idiots.
The sin of gossip is one of the tastiest of sins.
Yes,
no,
totally.
Really
we could talk about that. But even on my side, like I was judging these people.
Think about that time this guy. No.
Speaking of, so in my own heart, I was judging these people, and I'm like, these are just losers who want to jump on the bandwagon to make fun of Christians. And I'm judging them based on their one-sentence response about Joel's money from the church.
So you're becoming them.
Correct. Because it's just so easy to do. And I found myself doing that
fun.
all the time.
Yeah. It feels so self-righteously good.
Yeah. So where's the balance, right? I mean, so what is, if we want to get down to it, like, what is a sin, or what is misrepresenting Christ when we do a snarky comment or call someone an idiot because that's just so easy to do.
We think we're so righteous, like jumping in to defend and acting like total jerks.
Yeah, here's the facts.
Yeah, and completely forgetting the anger of man does not accomplish the righteousness of God.
Or also pearls before swine,
yeah, totally.
It's that's the thing, is like the path to sin and the path to righteousness, to put it that way, are often just contextual. Right? It's about what context to put yourself in. Do you put yourself in a context to be the best person you can be, or to be the worst person you can be? And I think your question to some degree is like, is internet, social media almost like a location where we go and turn into the worst versions of ourselves?
Absolutely. That's a great question. Chris, what do you think?
It's the Mr. Hyde of society, right?
Right.
Yeah.
We're all Dr. Jekyll in person, polite and shaking hands when you meet someone, and excusing yourself if you're in the way or something like that, and you get online and it's just Mr. Hyde.
And I'm the kind of person that doesn't tend to say anything on social media for this very reason, but still, to your point, Garrett, is like I still read it, and then internally I'm like grinding my teeth, or I'm criticizing inside, and I'm like, don't say anything because don't get involved in that. Like, rarely am I a pleasant human being when I'm on Facebook or Twitter. Like, I'm not thinking happy thoughts. I'm not complimentary in my attitude.
Compassionate, empathetic.
And
not rejoicing with those who are rejoicing. Right.
Are we just meeting to be the worst version of ourselves? And is that thus maybe a warning? Is social media maybe a thing that either... I mean, I guess there's one of two answers, right? Should we not be doing it, A? Or B, should we be making like extreme measures to to sort of fix the situation of social media?
Yeah, I mean, I would lean towards the answer is that we don't really know, and we're not really, no one's really trying to figure it out. I'll give you an example, and saying it out loud just sounds like such a bizarre interaction, but it's like it's every single day on the internet. So last summer, I took my summer camp video, edited it, instead of putting it on YouTube, I decided to put it on my church's Facebook page, the public one, which has, you know, it has more followers on the Facebook page than we do church. So there's people in the community who follow it. And it's a vlog style video. It's funny. And like 4 days later, I noticed this comment from someone that I don't know, totally like bashing the video and me. So the very first scene of the video, I'm kind of vlogging, and I said, "Hey guys, we're about to leave," but we had one student sign up, and the van doesn't work, and it's so funny. I've got to take this van that holds 8 people, this SUV that holds 7, and I've got to take my car just for one extra student because we have one more spot than we need. But I love to take students, and who wouldn't want to ride in my car? That's when I had a convertible. I'm like, this is going to be fun. And this woman says that I'm so out of touch. Some people don't even have cars, and so why would I complain about having to drive a student somewhere?
How dare you?
Yeah,
voice your mild inconvenience in a fun way.
I'm such a jerk. And then so my first response was, okay, that's it. So I started typing back. Not rude, but...
Do you do the thing where you have a long response and then you read it back over and you have to delete it?
Hold on, I'll get there. So I first respond with, I'm sorry, I think maybe you were mistaken. I was not upset or complaining. I've been in ministry for 15 years, and I drive my personal car all the time for ministry, and I don't look for anything in return. I said I would do whatever it took to took a new person, a student to camp with me, no matter what I had to do, and that was it. And she responds with, it was complaining. I know what I heard. You can't tell me I'm wrong.
Dang.
Then I typed this 3-page thing, look at it, and delete it, and never talk to her again. But it was like, what? When would I ever have a conversation like that with a stranger who's telling me that I'm wrong about what I communicated
about
and then
your
edited?
Own feelings. Yeah,
about my own feelings, and then created my own video and included it, knowing that it wasn't negative at all, telling me I was complaining. That's ludicrous. Right. It's like talking to a crazy person. So my first response was, this person's crazy, but that is also me like totally judging her. I don't know this person, and I'm not really. What kind of opinion can I form? Can I form on somebody like that?
Well, I think there's even a conversation, Chris, you touched on when you said like the Mr. Hyde of ourselves. There does seem to be like dual personalities when it comes to. I know people in real life. I talk with them personally. They're super cool, laid back individuals, easy to converse with. And then I see those same people on Facebook acting like complete psychos.
Sharing conspiracy theories.
Right. And it's like, how are you the same you're not. You can't. It's like, is it a joke? Is somebody just pretending to be you? Right? There's something about the internet. Maybe it's because we try so hard to be decent people that we need like an outlet. And
okay.
And where outlets used to be constrained to very private spaces, but now the internet
is yelling at your family and kicking your dog.
Right. Well, yeah. But now the internet is like the most public private space ever made.
Right.
Right. Like we treat it like it's private space. It's absolutely not private space.
Right.
But a lot of people still don't seem to grasp.
Yeah. Do you love it when you have friends or family that send you like private messages over the public message of Facebook? You know, when like you and you
on
like,
your wall, you mean?
They're like, hey, call me at this number.
Yeah.
Like, here's my credit card number. Can
Or
you
like-
buy this for me? And they post it on your page.
Luckily, it wasn't directed towards me, but I remember having a professor speak to one of his former students, just saying like, "I just remembering your problem with blank and blank, and I've been praying for you. Just wanted you to know." I'm like, "Whoa, that should not have been posted." on
It'd be like your
Facebook.
doctor.
Yeah.
Those are the early days of social media, like the Wild West. Man.
Yeah, I have your irritable bowel syndrome medication ready. Stop by whenever you need. I pick it up. Yeah, that's something I'd prefer to keep.
So James, you bring up really good points about kind of as a society, like what have we decided, like the use of social media is for and what it's good for, but the reality is it doesn't necessarily change the fact, like as Christians, that God wouldn't want to speak into that area of our life, which brings me to the book I have coming out. Not really, but I've thought like we do need to be a society as Christians be reminded that like God reads our Facebook wall. That's just so cheesy.
Yeah.
But it's like
I
he
love
wants.
it.
God reads the Facebook of my heart.
Yeah, he wants to be your number one, right? Like, like.
That's a MySpace thing. Nobody will know about that.
No, I mean like in your life. Like
Is
he
God
wants to
in
be,
your top 8?
top 8. He wants to be like him to be first, right?
Yeah.
In all of your areas, and to think of him. And then we've been using like social media as this like total dumpster of like negativity. And
Yeah.
do we think we're hiding it from God, or do we think that like because it's technology, like he doesn't care because we're not actually talking? I wasn't actually mean to my neighbor. I was just mean to this idiot online. Like,
Right.
like we seem to have.
It's
made
all
this
just
disconnect.
avatars.
Yeah, we've made this disconnect, and I don't know why we've made that disconnect.
But I found you can change. Like I noticed for a while, I was getting way too irritated with so many of the things I was seeing, especially during political season and stuff, and the way, not just the actual politics, but the way people start treating each other.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
And remember, you can prune your Facebook feed, right? So ditch anything that just doesn't need to be there. First off, and second, try making the effort to be positive. Because a lot of times, like, someone will post, oh, they did this cool thing, and you're like, oh, yeah, whatever. And you scroll
you
through
don't
it.
even care. Like, someone self-disclosed something really cool, or, like, they're proud of their achievement of, like,
and it's
graduating
because
something. And you just
if
like,
it's really your friend and they came to you and were like, oh, check out this thing I did, in real life, you would be, like, happy for them. And you'd say, hey, that's awesome and good for you and all these things. But then it's like social media, after a while, we start just ignoring those things and looking for things to be upset about.
Right.
Yeah, totally. Like, our friends have like, they announce the birth of their kid, and you're like,
yeah, whatever.
meh, whatever.
Yeah. I think some of it might be, it's also the thing we tend to go on Facebook in times when we are already stressed.
Or irritated.
Like after work or even during work, or like in line, and like we're putting ourselves at a bad time in a public place. Also, I want to double down on something you said politely. I want to say it forwardly. You don't need to be friends with everybody online. Like, a lot of people, and if they are good people in your life, wonderful. But if they are terrible people on Facebook or on Twitter or social media, you don't have to be friends with them on those things.
At the very least, unfollow.
Yeah. That's a nice little polite thing Facebook added like a couple years ago. Is that you can be quote unquote friends, but you can just unfollow them and not see anything they say. It's like a good middle ground there.
They won't know that you blocked them.
What's funny is I've known people like that, and like a year later, whatever, I'll be like, I wonder what that person's up to, and I'll go look, and you notice like all over the years, all of a sudden nobody is commenting on any of their things.
Yeah,
like everybody started unfollowing them. Like,
this is so weird.
I wonder how many people have unfollowed me.
Well, I think that brings us to the kind of the idea of like we have to be, as much as I get angry at people who are kind of bashing on somebody because it looks fun to bash on Joel Osteen. Like, it's really
it's easy.
It's easy, but it's easy for us to fall into that trap.
It's fun in a flesh satisfying way.
Yeah, it's totally easy for us to fall into that same kind of culture of jumping on and bashing someone and being negative because it's
so your mission this week is to go leave a positive comment on something neat someone on your feed did.
Yeah, that's true. Think of it this way. Let's look at the big picture when it comes to like taking part in the vitriol against Joel Osteen, deserved or not. We're starting to create this cycle on the internet. We've talked about this before, Chris, where we like to lift people up and then we destroy them. We as a culture, we completely, utterly just disable and destroy and tear apart whoever these people are, and then
throw them away and move on like it never happened.
I can't think of anything worse than that when it comes to like outside of like physical
it's
violence.
a pretty horrendous thing.
Right.
Like get someone fired from their job and you drive them to all kinds of depression and other stuff and then be like, okay, well, who's next?
Yeah, and there's many places in the Bible where the Bible tries to get us, in the New Testament especially, tries to get us to think about we are culpable for what we do in the groupthink. Yeah. Right? Like, just because it was the group that did it and you're only one person, you're not any less culpable. That you are responsible for playing a small part in a large sin. And that's the kind of the sin of the new age, the sin of social media, is just tearing people to pieces. Even if they, I joked earlier, I said Joel Osteen's got billions of dollars, so he can take a few jokes, but it's not a few jokes really, right? Right. It's if he's paying attention to his social media at all, he's getting tens, if not hundreds of thousands of comments. Even if I only sent one, I added to the mountain. Yeah. And even if you do have a lot of money and you have a lot of privilege, being told that you're an awful person 70,000 times over
cannot feel good.
Right. We had that joke about the one guy who had the same name as John Jones, was it? Oh, no, I was not with you. I was talking with my other friend, Chris. So there's so John Jones is a fighter who recently got in trouble for drugs yet again. But there is a computer programmer also named John Jones on Twitter.
Poor guy.
And he received, it's documented, you can see it, he received 70,000 threats and insults.
Oh my gosh.
Because he happened to share the same name as this other John Jones.
You know, I've seen that happen before where people put in their Twitter bio, not the whatever, not the famous person with the same name. And people don't even read it. They'll just like launch into their tirade at this person who's not even the right person.
Right.
Yeah.
So it is quite a swarm of hate that you are playing a little role in, but if everybody stopped playing a little role, it wouldn't happen.
Yeah, as Christians, I think we have a responsibility to make sure that we're kind of on the right side of justice, or even misplaced like justice. These people who are thinking that Joel Osteen is in the wrong and they can make fun of him and put him down, they think they're justified to do that. As Christians, you're held to like a higher standard of first of all, I don't know how negative comments would be justified, but I mean, that's, internet use, people think they can say whatever they want and get away with whatever they want. And I guess, culturally and as a society, I guess you can say whatever you want. And as far as, unless you get sued for defaming someone. But as a Christian, it's not necessarily like that. He cares about what we say and how we treat others.
Yeah. Let me put on the pastor speak for a moment. When Christ thinks on you, do you want him to think of a person who contributed positive or negative in the conversations you had? Like, what kind of contributor do you want to be known as? And going on the internet and, like, just sort of...
reading your last 100 comments.
Right. Just what kind of contribution do you want to be known for? And live according to what you want to be known for. Pretend to have the reputation you'd want to have, and like sooner or later you'll actually be acting that way naturally.
I will bring up one last thing from me. I had a friend back in AOL days. You remember AOL days?
Oh yeah, I'd get those free discs. They were first like 10 hours like free, and like by the time they stopped producing, it was like 500 hours free.
So I won't mention his name. I don't want to embarrass him. But you remember you set up your AOL profile, and in his occupation he put son of encouragement. And I saw it, and then I thought about, like, all the times I'd hung out with this guy. He was always so positive. And he was, like, the first person you want to call if something was going bad in your day. Because he had made it, like, his mission, or I don't know, I never asked him about it directly. But every time I saw him, it was just very uplifting. He was a good person to be around. You wanted to be around him. He made you feel better about life and the world and all those things. But it was the more I thought about it, the more I realized it was a conscious choice. It was a conscious effort. He wasn't just born a happy, positive person.
Right. It was a muscle he had to exercise.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. So, anything we want to add to this?
No, I mean, I just think it's a new issue that we've never had to think about before.
Yeah.
And I think especially as Christians, we have to be aware of it, especially as the younger generations of digital natives are looking to their mentors and their parents and their pastors about like how to navigate this new medium of social media and digital communication. Like, we don't really have great ground rules right now, and we're not really doing a good job as Christians of pulling our virtuous lives into this space. And I think it's having an effect on the younger generations who aren't getting that guidance.
Yeah. Well, thanks, Garrett. Thanks, Chris. This is James, and for Faith and Whatever. We've been away for a while, but we're jumping back into it with a lot of new things. Look out for some videos on the book of James that should be coming soon. Also be looking out for this thing we started called Sacred Sounds, starring Garrett. Yep. Think of it as very meditative, contemplative, quiet, sort of platonic. Prayer, talks, totally platonic. And it's just sort of to help to assist you in your own prayer and study biblical studies life, and to think on very important things, and to maybe slow down your life a little bit for God. And we've got one up right now. Please view it and tell us what you think. We've got some more that are being developed and will be coming out soon. Other than that, we have a Patreon right now, but it's pretty bare bones. We've set it up. We haven't really pushed it, but we're going to start thinking through that more and thinking about what's a responsible way to do that. We'd like some suggestions on that. You can go visit it if you want at patreon.com/faithandwhatever. And other than that, thanks for listening.
See
Bye.